Now we begin. And indeed, greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. I come forth to abide with you from a place that is not apart from where you are. I come forth to abide with you because I love you. I come forth to abide with you because you are already all that I am and all that I could possibly represent to the mind of mankind. I come forth as a promise kept that I am indeed with you always. I come forward because the time comes quickly, and I come forth to gather my friends to myself, who have already chosen to join with me in this age, to bring forth that of the Christed consciousness from the depth of their own being, to walk this earth as the arisen Christ, to be that one through whom the love of God is extended unto the plants, unto the animals, unto every brother and sister that walks with you, and yet carries the veil of fear that blocks the light of the temple of their heart. I come forth because I am asked to come forth of my Father. I am in charge of the atonement. That is, I am in charge of the process whereby this planet, this human consciousness, this third-dimensional realm will begin to move toward a transition of vibrational frequency. Therefore, I come forth to any mind that prepares a place for me by choosing to relinquish the burden of trying to be conformed to a thought system, to a way of life that does not work. A way of life and a thought system that must be reversed completely so that the heart leads and the mind follows. So vision is the guide, and the body is used only to bring forth into manifest form that seed of holy vision which the Father would place within you. I come forth because we are one. I come forth because we are friends. I come forth for the simple joy of abiding with you, the holy children of God. For from the beginning, which is before space and time, already were we together as one mind. And in an ancient moment, a useless dream was dreamt, a dream of forgetting, a dream of separation. But even in that moment, already did your Creator, the one that I have called Abba, Father, set the bridge in place that would one day become activated in the depth of your soul, by which you would come from the world of your making into the truth of the kingdom. That the very words I once exclaimed to the world would become your words, that would become your truth, your reality, your remembrance. That after all dreams have been dreamt, and the soul chooses to cross the bridge, it rests and reclines in the simple truth that I and my Father are one. And we create together only the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, it is an honor and a joy to abide with you, to co-create with you, to walk with you on the way that you've chosen. For it is only through the innocence of a perfectly free will that the soul can return to the kingdom. Love does not need to strive. Love does not need to reach out and hold on to. Love does not need to persuade. It merely abides in its own nature, waiting for the seeker of reality to turn from the roar and din of the world, in which peace cannot be found, in which fulfillment is forever lacking, and begins to hear the crystal clear but very quiet song of the Creator, whispering eternally, "Beloved child, I love you. Come, remember me, and let us be as one." So, with all of that by way of greeting, I give thanks unto you, each of you, for your willingness to hear the call and to answer it, to step upon the bridge and allow its light, its intelligence, for the bridge is but the Holy Spirit, the link back to the mind of God, to guide you in all things. And as you learn not to hear the thoughts born of the world, but to hear the whispers of spirit that arise from a quiet mind and a peaceful heart, and a decision to trust the voice for spirit, you cannot fail but to complete this journey. The end, therefore, is certain, and each of you in your own way, and indeed all of you collectively, are witnessing and experiencing within yourselves and in your relationships the manner in which the Father, God, is calling creation back to herself. Therefore, rejoice with one another, be glad with one another, celebrate one another, love you one another. For the end was written in the stars before the stars were birthed. And that time comes quickly. For long have I awaited this age to be upon this plane, when enough momentum has been created in the consciousness of mankind, so that a wave of awakening can no longer be shut out, that a wave of awakening can no longer be resisted, that a wave of awakening will melt away all fear. And once again the kingdom of heaven will be spread across the face of this earth. But unlike a time when man recognized it not, mankind will know that the truth is true always, and that what is real cannot be threatened, and only what is real exists. There indeed will come a moment when all dreams of fear are forgotten, when all strife and enmity between brothers and sisters is dissolved as but an echo of a thought so long ago that it's hardly even imaginable. The earth will radiate the light of truth yet again, as she too prepares to make her transition, her ascension, her vibrational change. And the waters of this planet will run clearly, and the skies will radiate with colors that have not yet been seen by human eyes. There will be a harmony between all species and mankind, and the way of the world will be forgotten, and the way of peace restored. And the earth will provide all that mankind could possibly need, simply by the asking. And in that day and hour, when all things have been set in place, and the atonement, the correction has occurred, for a brief moment, that state will be experienced, and then this whole plane of density will simply dissolve from view. Not gone, but translated into an entirely new domain. There are many. Indeed, we would say unto you that everyone living on your planet at this time is being pressed to make the decision. Are you going to stay and go for the ride, or are you going to have to move to a different neighborhood? Everyone is being confronted by that decision, from the oldest to the youngest, even the brand new newborn child. By the way, many of those that are being newborn have already made the decision, and that's why they're being birthed, to assist in setting the frequency. Many of the children being birthed in your world now are already light years ahead of where humanity has been stuck for a while. And they bring a new frequency of consciousness, they bring a new sense of unlimitedness, and they will not settle for the limited fear-based ideas that have created the world into which you were birthed. Each and every one has a role to play, a part that has been assigned. It has been with you since the moment your soul was birthed. And the hour and the day comes when each must turn within and finally allow that part to flower and be played through them. And in whatever way that you come to it, you will understand the words that I spoke seemingly so long ago, when I was confronted with the finality of my drama, the finality of my own teaching. Some would call it the crucifixion. I've never desired to emphasize that part of it. That was just stepping stones to the resurrection. And those words are simply this: nevertheless, not my will, not the will of the separate fearful ego, but thine be done, the will of the one mind that is but love. And when love guides the way, miracles sprout before you, and not one obstacle is left in front of you. It dissolves before you reach it. So, here you are, in a little building in what you call your Santa Fe, gathering with brothers and sisters that you have known across space and time, because you've all answered the same call and are beginning to be called into a resonance that accelerates the growth of all of you. Just as many are being called together through different lineages, through different teachers, orchestrated, if you will, to gather together in their own ways, to learn the lessons they yet need to learn, to discover their way of service to the planet, to humanity, to the cosmos, to the heart of Christ, and to the Creator. An ancient dream begins now to end. The circle is nearly completed, and the pendulum returns all things to the pristine and innocent truth that all things are but the extension of the radiance of God's presence. And fear can have no place in a mind that has awakened to the reality of God. And what you are doing here, even in this evening, is a part of that very process. I have said many times that I come to call my friends to myself. Imagine that all of you have been given a script very, very long ago. And part of the script said that the day would arise when you would reconnect with an old friend, the one the world has called Jesus. And that through that connection, a vibration would be created that would accelerate the fulfillment of your own part, your own unique role to play, the stepping into the fullness of your Christed nature, just as once, as a man, I decided to take my Father's word at face value and stepped into my own Christed nature. And while many beings sit before their televisions in this town of yours tonight, and many more sit in what you call the rooms for unconsciousness, putting the liquid in the body, the bars. While many seek a lover to keep them warm through the night never lasts forever. You have chosen to come here because you have heard an invitation for this one evening and you've accepted. Therefore, celebrate and rejoice, for the day is at hand, and there is no greater joy than the recommunion of ancient friends who deep within themselves know that the time is now. The dance has begun, the music has started. And the whole of creation will come to this party. So, we want then in this evening to speak specifically to certain questions that have been generated, for they hold a purpose in helping to extend and to clarify a simple message about this time frame, about certain changes, about certain things that are now occurring within your governments, upon your planet, as this Armageddon boils to a crescendo in which all souls are being asked, well, are you going to join the dance, or are you going to have to leave the neighborhood? That is not a judgment, it is an offering being made to the soul of everyone. Use time constructively. You can heal your heart. You can practice forgiveness. You can awaken as Christ. You're going to have to, because the planet is doing the same thing, and if you don't come with her, you won't be able to handle her light and her frequency, and you'll need to move to a different neighborhood. That's all. No judgment, no fear, no being struck dead by God. Only a simple offering. You can awaken now, or you can awaken somewhere else later. There have been far too many laters. So, I believe then that you have questions.
Well, Joshua, it's not terribly fair for you to answer the questions before I pose them.
It's just a simple mistake that we occasionally make.
There seems to be a polarization going on now between people who are answering the call and people who would remain in fear. And those things look like wars and fights and racial tension. Is this part of that process?
No, it's because of what has been placed in the water.
Glad you haven't lost your sense of humor.
Indeed. Too much of what you call your fast food. Beloved friend, you have heard it said that when you hear of wars and rumors of wars, know the time is not quite yet, but boy, is it getting close. Indeed, as we spoke a moment ago, and please understand this, there is no such thing as punishment. There is no condemnation or judgment in the mind of God, who is but love, and seeks to give his holy child all good things, and would lead the child from dreams of strife and suffering and fear to dreams of freedom and peace and empowerment and Christedness. There is a vibration beginning to build in the depth of this dimension, this density you call your third dimension, third dimensional reality, although we would say there's no reality here yet, but it's coming. This vibration is like a pebble dropped in a pond that is beginning to send ripples. It's been going on for some time. It's beginning to pick up pace, beginning to vibrate a little more, like water beginning to boil. You sense that it's happening, although you don't even see the bubbles rising yet. You know something's changing in the energy of the water. And as that occurs, it is literally rippling through every soul. Why? Because separation does not exist. And if God holds the thought, okay, time to nudge the child, I've let them dream long enough. Let's see if they can hear my voice over their dreams. That ripple must go through every created soul. And as it does so, it is stirring up all the old fears, all the old patterns, all the old habits. And the soul is being asked, are you ready to purify? Which simply means to make a different choice. Doesn't require lying on a bed of nails. Simply the recognition that something's coming up that no longer feels as comfortable as it once did. Are you willing to let go and allow a small period of disorientation until reality settles in, and what you thought could have never been becomes your norm, and you walk the world awake? There are many who are having their fears escalate. And why? Because they are committed to fear. They believe in fear. It is what keeps them safe. I know that sounds odd, but it's very true. As long as I can look out upon my neighbor and see you as the bad person, then I know who needs to be attacked. And all I have left to do is figure out how to attack you before you attack me. Very simple. And if I win, I get all the marbles. But in attack, no one can win. For when the attacker attacks, the attacker is attacked by the weight of the negativity of their own fear. So yes, what you're seeing on the planet is a polarization that is occurring because every soul is being confronted by the decision to heal and to forgive, or to hold on to the idols of their woundedness and to judge. Once I said, with what judgment that you put out, rest assured you will be judged in the same way. Why? Because you create your experience. So again, there will be many who will not be able to live on this planet. That is why there's also a creation of many odd and new dis-eases upon your plane. It is why there are very bizarre things being done by certain governments on your planet as the fear builds, in an attempt to remain in control of something that they don't even understand. And yet none of it can affect the pure in heart, the meek who will inherit the earth. Those that choose to heal the gap in their own being between themselves and the mind of God. For they will be led in each moment, and nothing will befall them. A few lessons on the way, yes, but only by way of purification, only by way of a deeper wisdom, a deeper understanding. Where you extend to your Father a smidgen of willingness, the end is certain, and you are safe to trust what you feel in the depth of your heart, which is the temple of the soul. where father and child rest together, God and Christ. Does that help you in regard to that question?
Yes, thank you. But everything you've said tonight can be taken either physically or metaphorically. Is this a physical change that will occur on the planet, or is this a metaphorical change that will occur on a planet and the planet itself remain unscathed?
Beloved friend, I'm very glad that you have posed your question in just that way. Now, we both know that to put anything into language in the form of a question, you are forced to deal with the language structure you have. Your language structure lives in duality. Things are either on or off, white or black, they're metaphor or they're physical. But I say unto you, the whole of this physical dimension is a metaphor. It is a symbol of a vibration of thought. Does that make it less real? Not at all. For how can the holy child of God create unreality? Therefore, this dream will be played out and involve the whole of the created domain. And yet it's still just a metaphor, part of a dream. For this house you sit in, the town in which it resides, and the planet upon which this town resides, all exist in a space no wider than the tip of a pin. And yet, where you abide, all of creation is contained within you, and you are vast beyond the reach of all solar systems. And when you get a feel for that, you will indeed marvel. Yes, it will occur, and it is inappropriate and inaccurate for anyone to assume that this change is merely pictures or symbols, but it really only occurs in something called the mind that's somewhere tucked inside a body and has nothing at all to do with the planet, with the stars, with the comets, with the photon belts. It is all one thing. Mind creating. Therefore, for mind to awaken, all of mind awakens and changes. Yes, it will involve the planet itself. I believe that should help make it clear.
Then the role of Shanti Christo must also be clear in this process. Is it a beacon?
Actually, beloved friend, we have merely beguiled you, and that which is called Shanti Christo is a distractive mechanism being created by the devil. Beloved friend, yes, Shanti Christo is an expression of a vibration of thought, like a pebble dropped in a pond, that is created to manifest specific vibrational patterns or ripples. It will be utilized by us to attract many minds and many beings who can step through the portal into awakened consciousness. There are many portals being created. And why do there need to be many portals? Because there are many levels of consciousness, and there are many forms of experience that you've all created, everyone on the planet. I am not everyone's teacher, even though I am in charge of the atonement. So imagine that I'm merely sitting behind a small little desk out in the meadow, and I pick up the, what you call your cordless telephone. In this case, it's even a non-physical phone. And I will call another teacher, another being, and say, you know, this one over there had a very good connection with you back in Egypt 4,000 years ago. Why don't you pop down and have a little chat with them? Mm-hmm. So there is an orchestration going on. There may seem to be many forms of the universal curriculum, many teachers, many methodologies, and yet all of them are but portals through which the soul chooses to walk, to step from fear to love, from insanity to sanity, from dreams to reality. Shanti Christo, then, is one such portal through which I specifically can activate the call and create a gathering place, if you will, a gathering frequency through which I can call those to myself who, because of past resonances, past experiences, have come to love me and have come to trust me as one who can carry them over the bridge. Yes, Shanti Christo has a role to play, and rest assured there is a safety mechanism built into this vibration. This vibration cannot be manipulated or used for personal gain. It cannot be misdirected, for the mind that may be attracted to it and then sort of bounces off and goes to the left or right is one that merely realizes that this vibration requires, what is your phrase, the getting real. This is a vibration and a portal that helps souls step into the next vibration. You can't sneak anything past the ego detector. Does it help in regard to that question?
Yes. Are there any other questions in the group about earth changes?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we going to experience a period of 3 days of darkness during this change of the
I would suggest here that it is very probable that this will occur, and yet it will be a little longer than 3 days. This will eventuate, if it is necessary for the change of vibration, to require what would be called the changing of the axis of the planet. This will create a bit of a shake-up, as one can imagine, and there will be created a blackening out, and the sun's rays will not touch the earth. The sun itself is going nowhere. Yes, but listen well to what I say, for there are many prophecies coming out, and there will be many more as we move closer and closer. Many are getting pictures that are the effect of the generation in their own minds of how they need to understand the ripples that are coming to them. We speak of probabilities because it is never certain what must eventuate for a change of vibration to occur. And you can liken this to your own lives. Sometimes you need to be hit with a broom handle to get your attention. At other times, a quiet whisper seems to be enough. We would suggest that because there is no separation, the more that souls choose to awaken and to heal, the less the need for shocking circumstances to get their attention. The more mankind awakens, the easier the transition of the earth. Does that make sense for you?
Yes.
Is there truly any difference between entities that describe themselves as Germain, Jeshua, Michael, and who would bring their message through an individual? Is there really any difference among the messengers?
The answer is a resounding yes. And why? When you speak of difference, what you are alluding to is that is there an entity that is its own unique sphere of consciousness arising out of the one mind? God is aware of God because of God's creation. You are God's creation. Therefore, the Father knows himself because you exist to be aware of him. Individuation, like a ripple arising out of the ocean, does not change the substance. It's still all made of one thing, and yet there is individuation, uniqueness. Just as there are several souls associated with the bodies that have gathered in this room, and you all have your own unique cosmic social security number.
Will it be bankrupt when we get there?
No, it is always, shall we say, overflowing. And you don't even have to pay into it. So understand then that when we speak of one mind, we are not saying that individuality does not exist. We're merely saying that each being, each created being, has within them the power to operate from the one mind that I have called Christed consciousness. It can go by many names. And yet individuation is eternal. There will never be a time, a moment, or a non-moment when all of you simply dissolve into some amorphous blob of awareness. In other words, the more you settle into God, the more the desire there is to individuate so that you can have relationship in which to celebrate the good, the holy, and the beautiful. To dance eternally at play in the Father's kingdom. Does it help in that regard?
Most definitely.
Now, by the way, I would highly suggest that I would never listen to the Germain fellow. And Michael sometimes is a little, Just kidding, of course.
And Mary shops at Kmart.
Never been able to keep that one under control. Rest assured, we delight with one another, we play with one another, we see the Creator, we see the presence of God as each of us, and we respect our individuation just as you respect yours. To see the oneness in diversity, to experience communion between two wholes, that is the great promise of the kingdom. To be in holy relationship in which two Christs as individuated beings, yet emerging from and operating from the same mind, the same values, the same love, the same compassion, the same wisdom, the same unlimited power to create the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Now that is a dance worth attending. Therefore, seek not the death of the self, but seek the arisen self. That should help.
Would you care to summarize this evening?
It has been worthwhile. Beloved friend, as you well know, since the thought was dropped in the mind, that this short gathering of this evening was designed to bring forth some specific corrections that will be flowing out to many minds. many more minds than you're even aware of. For those first ones who receive it will be struck. A little chord is struck. Oh yes, that's right. Thank you for the nudge. That I have to get on with it. I have to get on with it. I was beginning to fall into the hope that I could just dissolve away and not have to birth Christ. And then they will give that to many others. There is much being taught in your world that is not correct. Anything based on fear is incorrect. Anything based on the end of creation, even in positive terms, is incorrect. For the Father extends himself eternally. How then can there be an end to creation? There is only ever-expanding fullness. Fullness expanding into fullness, and into fullness, and into fullness, and into fullness. Higher and higher, and wider and wider, and brighter, and ever more blissful, and ever more wise and loving. And you all know exactly what that means. For every consciousness reciprocates or plays out the very journey of creation. You all know that you've made creations that were a little difficult, they were a little crude, and so you sought new ways, didn't you? And you keep birthing better and better creations. Guess what? That's it. That's the power of God, which is the soul, seeking to create the good, the holy, and the beautiful. And there reaches a point, of course, where you realize that you have to give up being identified with egoic consciousness so that spirit can truly use the soul to create in a Christed realm. Like leaving the things of childhood behind and taking up your rightful place as a powerful, mature adult. To be an adult in the kingdom is to be Christ. Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, allow the good, the holy, and the beautiful to pour forth through your soul. For you are the one sent in this age with all power under heaven and earth to reveal to your brothers and sisters the truth of a happy dream, the truth of perfect freedom, the end of fear, and the remembrance of love. Be you therefore with one another often. Remember always that you are the light of this world. Why not get on with it? And with that, peace be unto you always, from the heart of one who loves you and has reached across space and time to touch you and to whisper to you, beloved friend, come, take my hand. We are on the bridge already. Just step lightly. Come with me. I know the way. From that one who is me, and speaking on behalf of the many who gather with me each and every time this specific work is done, I love you and we love you. It is not possible for you to journey alone. And what you are asked to do in the depth of your vision and in your heart, rest assured, it would not be asked if you were not also given the power and the support to bring it about. Never think you need to be the maker and the doer. You need only be, as each of us is, a servant of the mind of the Creator, who is but love, and whom we serve with perfect freedom and joy and fulfillment. Peace then be unto you always. Amen.
Joshua, don't run off.
Where could I go?
Thank you. Tape 2. I'd like to discuss with you, pursuant to the book that we're working on, The Way Through Death. You brought to our attention this past December that there were many individuals who died in the explosion in Oklahoma City who were at that time unaware of their death situation. They were somehow hung up in that moment of time of the explosion, unable to extricate themselves from the collapsed building. We've all heard stories of ghosts still inhabiting the locations of their death. Why is this so if what Emmanuel says, that death is like taking off a tight shoe, is true?
Death is like taking off a tight shoe, but it does not necessarily bring enlightenment and freedom. The tight shoe is the density of the physical form. Yet, where a mind is not yet prepared, and where the mind carries attachment to what that mind had learned to value, other bodies in space and time, the energy of that soul cannot ascend to the Father, to use an old biblical term. There can be no ascension to the Father unless that soul has gotten over a very important hump. The hump of at least having faith that there is something beyond this world. Does that make sense for you? So, in a very real way, a weight has been lifted. There is no cold, there is no heat, there is no need for fuel for the body. Experiences continue. The interesting thing is that without the physical density of the body, there is no experience of time as you know it. Therefore, a soul can remain stuck in a building that is collapsing for what you would perceive as thousands of years, if that mind remains attached to the belief that it is only the third-dimensional physicality, and that the only thing of value are other things of third-dimensional physicality. Just as many times you would walk down a street and not even notice that a friend has passed you by because you're so fixated on where you're going. The soul at death can be so fixated on its perceptual values that it doesn't even notice angelic choirs singing in their ear. Come, beloved friend, ascend. Doesn't even notice it. Until there is communication, till somehow there is discovered a way to create or to bring its attention to value something else, to realize that something has profoundly changed and that its belief system had been limited. Does that help you in regard to that question?
So, from what you're saying, then there is no set sequence that occurs at that moment called death. So a lot of people report on going through the tunnel and you're
that is
there.
The tunnel experience being spoken of in your cultures as the near-death experience is a very, very basic first stage of the dying process. Primarily it entails the withdrawal of energy from the brain core, or from the brain core to the stem of the body or toward the spine of the body. It creates the perception of the tunnel, in which there is a withdrawal from the senses of the body into this, what appears to be a tunnel, And it is a portal and a doorway. And yes, I appear to many, and others appear as well. But the belief system is still functioning. That is only one of the first stages of the actual death process. As it continues, and as the brain core literally dies, which simply means that life force is withdrawn and not returned to it, so it is dropped like old baggage, then the soul, the consciousness, experiences a vibrational leap, what you might call a quantum leap, in vibrational states into more and more subtle states of its own being. But there is a period in which there is a playing out of the residual effects of all of its perceptions and beliefs. It is called in one stage, the life story is played back that fast. Thoughts or fears of a Satan or beliefs in a Savior become the energy which attract that experience to that individual. So in a general sense, there is something that occurs energetically, but what occurs within that energy is entirely unique to each individual. And what will matter is this: if time has been used constructively, that is, if you utilize time to let go of limiting beliefs and begin to foster first faith and then direct experience in tapping into other dimensions, into remembering the mind of God, if you practice forgiveness and healing, then at death, fear has no place to grip the mind. Yes, the tunnel begins to happen because the energy is being withdrawn from the cellular structure of the body, from the brain itself toward the brain stem, what I call the stem, or the interior of the spine. And since the mind has been cultivating devotion to God, the willingness to heal, the ability to let go without fear, then as these things come up, they're moved through very, very quickly. They have no effect whatsoever. And the mind proceeds toward light. Greater and greater dimensions of light. And it is possible for the soul then to remain in those dimensions without any need of incarnating again. It is always something left unhealed, a fear, a self-judgment, a resentment, an old anger that creates a heaviness that draws the soul, using its infinite power, to recreate third-dimensional physicality yet again to try to get it right. It is always much wiser to use the incarnation you have to get it right. Don't think about the old ones. Don't think about the ones that might come. Realize it right where you are. Right where you are. Everything is perfect for your awakening. You can awaken now by choosing to teach only love. And that must include to yourself. To love the self is ultimately the final portal. For only when you truly love yourself can you serve another. Only when you love yourself so much you're no longer willing to tolerate anything but the presence of Christ in you. When you believe that you are so valuable that you should be treated like a priceless jewel, then indeed Christ will arise. For the Holy Son of God, who is but Christ, will not come up and take his abode in a home unworthy of him. And what is that home? It's not the body, it's the mind. Therefore, love yourself. When I once said, love your neighbor as yourself, I thought it was obvious that that meant you had to love yourself before you could ever experience loving your neighbor. Therefore, learn the way of love. practice with diligence forgiveness. Release expectation from anyone or anything. Create your vertical alignment in the mind of God and seek not from the world what it does not possess. The eternal and perfect peace that birthed you and that you are seeking to recover. Be you therefore whole and perfect means just that. Wake up, get it right while you're on the planet. Let the mind heal. Choose to be the presence of love. Trust God above all things and walk this world as the meek who will inherit it. Be you therefore the presence of love. And when the time comes, as it must, for that temporary density structure called the body to dissolve and be given back to the earth from which it came, fear will have no place in you. And as the tunnel begins to appear and you know, and this happens to every mind by the way, there's a moment when you know something is occurring that's going to occur and you're not going to be able to interrupt it anymore. You're not going to be able to avoid the portal. When you literally feel the energy withdraw from the cells of the body and move toward the stem, or what you call the spinal column, you will welcome it like a joyous ride. And you will turn your attention immediately upward, that is a metaphorical term, but upward to the higher teachings of the mind of God rather than the teachings of a fearful world. And you will let these things go like toys that have been outgrown. And then the soul can ascend into its full remembrance. And in my Father's house are many mansions, which mean that there are an infinite number of dimensions in which you can come to make a new home based on the quality of vibration that you have brought yourself to in your understanding and in your consciousness, which is nothing more than your love. For the only thing you can ever truly regret is that perhaps you resisted giving that love away, even up to the moment of death. Therefore, love freely, love abundantly, and love without ceasing. And above all, love the self that has been birthed in the mind of God for no other reason than to live in the consciousness of God.
So I'll be the gnat shouting at the universe. Is God self-aware, or is it simply a benign metaphysical force?
Benign metaphysical force.
Don't pick at it, just answer it.
There is nothing more benign than love. There is nothing more metaphysical, which means beyond and permeating the physical, than God. There is nothing more forceful, if you mean by that infinite power that cannot be denied, than God. So if that is what you mean, I would say yes to the use of those terms. Is God self-aware? Are you aware?
Got me.
It won't be the last time.
So then, that for me begs the next question. Is there a force outside of God?
Just you.
Thanks.
Well, do we understand the direction of your question? There can be nothing outside of God, and what is unreal does not and cannot exist. Yet you have the power, within the infinite freedom of God, to believe a perception that there is a force outside or other than God, just as you have believed that you are separate from God. It is an optical delusion of consciousness. It is a dream of a child sleeping in a meadow, in whom no change has truly occurred. That which is called Satan cannot exist or have any power save in that mind that allows it and who gives that power to it. For did I not ask you to speak unto one, could the devil withstand your love? And did it not bring that one to silence? In other words, love heals, because love is real. And when you step from fear into love, where did the boogeyman go?
Well, I'm through with my questions. If you have a summary.
Could I? Yes.
Yes.
Getting back to Shanti Christo, could you give us an idea of when this will materialize?
Beloved friend, it already has. And in your third dimensional plane of time, you are witnessing the process whereby that materialization occurs. In reality, it is already finished, because God does not think thoughts that arise incomplete. You are merely tuning in to what has already occurred. I know that's a bit of a leap, but it's okay. Let yourself take it. You're merely choosing to allow yourself to participate in what you've already done. For hear this, in reality, the dream and the process of awakening never occurred. For what has no effect has never happened. The dream, the awakening of the dream, is already done. You might say you're watching the film. Film at 11. Can you imagine a newscaster saying, all of creation has awakened today and returned to the holy mind of God. Film at 11. And what you're experiencing is the watching of the film. Like being within a hologram. Yes, and when are the specific parts going to manifest that involve you? When would you like them to manifest?
Tomorrow.
Very well. Simply awaken tomorrow and know it is finished. Let no doubt arise in your mind, and simply allow the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, to reveal to you what has been finished. Imagine what you call a supervisor at a construction site building a beautiful building, and you come by and you go, how did this happen? He puts his arm around you and says, come, first I'll show you the foundation, I'll show you the blueprint plans, and yet the whole time you're in the building. And your mind begins to tap in to the day they first brought the concrete to make the foundation. Then the steel girders, and later the interior decorators putting the final touches as he describes for you the process whereby the very building in which you live was created. The buildings on that land are already there, you just don't see them yet. But they're settling in. And you will see them. And when you see them, you'll know, just like hundreds of other beings will know, I've seen those before. Not in another place in time, but because you've already experienced the completion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Indeed. And what can stand against the will of God? That is why those that are called to add to and create this vibration must always rest in certainty, in knowingness. It is finished. What a delightful way to spend the last afternoon of the dream of separation. Something to think about.
Thanks, my friend.
Indeed. So, may I be allowed to leave this time?
Where could you go?
Exactly. I merely recede what is called this communication process. By agreement always. I merely nod to my brother who no more exists within the body than you exist within yours. You're just animating a temporary communication tool. I merely nod to him and I say, we're done now. And usually he goes, oh, so soon? Thank you. And he returns his attention to the body as I release my attention from it. That's all. Kind of like two friends, and one night one of them sleeps in a certain bed in the house, and the next night it's the other person's turn. We just slide in and out of the bag of dust. Sometimes you never quite know who's there.
Get the chance to sleep around that way.
Indeed. It is good to choose loving cosmic bedfellows. Indeed. Therefore, again and always, I leave, yet I leave not you. For I am closer to you than your own breath, and never further from you than the width of a thought. Think well then, and remember the truth that is true always.